biggest component within SWAT in order to accurately predict things like water quality, like you're talking about, actually, like sediment and nutrients and pesticides or anything like that, actually. So as far as the weakness is concerned, I think the landscape module within SWAT is pretty strong, actually. It's very good, well tested, verified in various places. Where we have still challenging is on the river process. Okay, and the rivers or lakes and reservoirs when it comes to water quality. Water quality is still good on those, both on rivers and lakes, but water quality both on lakes and rivers are still can be improved, actually. And then of course the groundwater component is always challenging because we don't deal with deep aquifer or interaction of deep aquifer with shallow aquifers and things like that. So definitely there's plenty of work need to be done, and we got another 30 years. We have enough work for all of us to work on that.
Yeah, and the in-stream component, so that was grafted in from the US EPA Qual 2K model, I think, but that's one part of SWAT that really hasn't been tested a lot relative to other components, and it has its issues. I think there's no question about it. It needs to be strengthened. What Srini was saying too about, like the groundwater component, you see a number of studies. This happened in China, it's happened in Germany, it's happened in the US, where people have either modified the code or interfaced it with a model like ModFlow. And of course, we now have this sort of official SWAT ModFlow interface underway, and that'll be publicly available in the not too distant future. But these are all sort of manifestations of model weakness, right? People are encountering systems and confronted with things they need to deal with, and are seeing, okay, the model isn't responding as well as we'd like. So they take it a few steps further. They go into the code, they do surgery, and adjust it, get it to reflect the physical processes more accurately in the region that they're working with. There's dozens of examples of this in the literature. So, but even the most basic processes. So in the hydrology, most people use the runoff curve number approach in SWAT. The green amp is also available, but you can almost count on one hand the number of studies that have actually used green amp. And I think people just haven't found it real advantageous. You have to estimate a certain number of parameters. I mean, it's supposedly more physically based, but when it comes down to practical modeling, I don't think it really plays out that way. But there are problems with the curve number approach, the way it was formulated. I just saw a article, I think it's published in the Journal of American Water Resource Association. I might have the wrong journal, but there's some people from Cornell and some others who are basically blasting the use of the curve number approach in models. So these controversies linger, and they're calling for, using more advanced, more physically based, approaches. The only problem is where are they? People who are developing SWAT would gladly, bring this into the model if it was readily available, but I can't find it.
No, but also a lot of this requires some specialized input data sets. As you start becoming more specialized, then obviously that's not. I mean, you literally have to go to the field to collect data. This is the purpose of a lot of the models, actually. So, yeah, it's catch-22.
The SWAT Plus is starting to address some of this.
I think the basic line here is there's no perfect models. Okay? We have to accept that, but there are some of these are useful, and one of these are useful. So one of the limitations that I've seen for the beginners is that where they simply calibrate the SWOT models in terms of stream flow, but they try to answer beyond what stream flow would be. For example, they try to use that to predict sediment yield without calibrating in terms of sediment yield. Or, for instance, they could go to erosions, but they only are looking or calibrating it within the stream flow. I think we have to understand that when you use that model for a particular purpose, you have to calibrate that first. So, in short, don't go beyond what that model being calibrated.
Okay, thank you. In my experiment to use SWAT, I have find difficult to modify database. For example, cropping time in US is different with tropical region. So in database, cropping time is summer crop and etc. So we difficult in tropical region to set cropping time, something like that. For example, also for rice in Indonesia, rice can plant 2 times a year, or sometimes 3 times. So it's difficult to modify it like that. How? Thank you.
You can, SWAT has the capability to input management based on two principles. One is what we call heat unit scheduling, which is an automated manner to schedule your planting, harvesting, fertilizer application, so on and so forth. But that works very well above 15 or 20 degree latitude. Okay? So between 0 and 25 degree latitude, either plus or minus, which is around the equator, actually, you have the tropical regions. So that we highly recommend your cropping pattern is not determined by the temperature changes, it's been driven by your rainfall pattern because you are mostly monsoon driven system. So for that, we recommend using the date and month. Okay, you can turn off the heat unit scheduling and say, okay, I'm going to give the month and date when I'm going to plant my crop. Okay, so if you have 3 crops in a year, you specify the crops. Okay, here is my planting date, here is my tillage date, here is my. It may not be exactly accurate as well, but it will give you within a week of generally what the farmers do in that region. Okay, so you can provide planting and harvesting and all other operations like fertilizer, irrigation, and all those stuff by date to avoid the kind of problem that you're talking about actually. So anytime you do anything within plus or minus 25 degree latitude, we recommend using actual planting date instead of heat units. The heat units work well only in the northern climate or way down southern climate where they have 4 seasons. Whereas in the plus or minus 25 degree latitudes, you have only 2 seasons. Hot and hotter, that's all.
Yeah, and for a given HRU, you should be able to set up a sequence of multiple rice crops, right?
Yeah, you can have up to 3 crops per year in SWAT actually, and you can also have different crops in different years actually. So in other words, you could have for example, sugar cane can be 3-year crop or a 5-year crop. Okay, you can. So when you do that, don't use harvest and kill. When you say harvest and kill, it's not only harvest the crop and it kills the crop also. But when you're using things like sugar cane, you should only say harvest only. So that means after the first year, it's going to harvest the sugar cane and it let it grow again for the next year. Then you harvest and 3rd year again. So whenever you want to stop the sugar cane, then you can say harvest and kill or kill. So at that day, it will kill the crop. So yeah, it's I know it's a little tricky, but yes, it can be done.
In my first paper, I usually use that because that was also my problem before. I heavily I tried to go up to the build level, so I used the dates rather than using the heat units, and I think I get better results.
So, yeah, look. Who has it? No? No.
Okay, what about the snowfall? Once there is a heavy snow and when it's melting, then there is a no rainfall, but due to melting of snowfall, there is a good discharge. And if we give a rainfall data, actually there is no rainfall. And what about this condition?
That's then depending on whether you are in a mountainous region or a flat area.
Mountainous.
Mountainous. Okay, if it's a mountainous region, you have to incorporate elevation band in SWAT. If you don't incorporate elevation band, then the model doesn't know. It's going to assume if it is melted, the whole snow is melted. That means you're going to predict very high peak flows, and the observation does not show that, because as you go in the altitude, the snow in the lower elevation first is going to melt, then the next set of elevation and all the way to the top of the mountain actually, and some of them are glaciers. So you have to provide both. If you have permanent glaciers, you have to provide what is the depth of your permanent glacier. You also have to provide the elevation band. So you can have up to 10 elevation band. We recommend anywhere between 3 and 5 at the minimum. But once you start going above 4,500 meters, you have to have glaciers. Without glaciers, the model won't work.
And one thing is more, when we are giving a land use class, and some area like in Himalaya have a snowfall throughout the year like glaciers, and then there is a no land use class for snow.
You don't need to worry about it. If you throw it there, if there is a snow, there's no vegetation going to be growing anyway. So whatever vegetation you give, still nothing will grow under that condition. So you don't have to worry about it. I mean, there will be some grass here and there actually, so that's not going to have an impact on your ET. Your ET is so low that actually you don't have to worry about that.
So tie up to the questions what raised with the share from the back. So sometimes the right management you grow by seed, so you just throw the seed to the paddock view, and sometimes you use your hand to push up, and they have spaces between that.
It's called transplanting. Yeah.
Transplanting. Yeah. So are there going to be any different interval model?
No, because transplanting is another way of what happens is when you broadcast a seed, it may take say 10 to 15 days for it to come up actually. Whereas transplanted deliberately, they grow in a seedling area, then transplant that after same 15 days period actually. So you are not going to have a major implication. So the transplant in the seedling area will be normally 1/10 of the planted area. Meaning you need 0.1 hectares for a 10 hectares of 1 hectares of land to produce actually. So sometimes seedlings are contracted out actually, so somebody else grow as a nursery, they produce all the seedlings and you can go and buy and plant so that you don't have to grow your own seedlings. So sometimes government does that in some countries, it all depends actually. But I don't think you are going to miss out a 10-day period in your hydrology because of this, whether you're broadcasting or seedling transplant.
Yeah, and sometimes they just throw the seed and they don't do the
transplanting.
Yeah, and it's no space between the
but still, because of the natural competition, not everything is going to grow. Okay, so even though they grow, actually, when they try to take the weed out, okay, that's what they call weeding out. They will also thin it down. Thin it down means they will remove. If there are multiple tillers coming from the same plant, they will remove that actually. That way they automatically maintain a spacing. So those are all. I mean, our guys are pretty smart, so they'll be doing this.
In the model, can you set the timing of planting to reflect that transplant? I don't know, just adjust it 10 days or something.
Yeah, it's normally about 10 to 15 days.
Any question?
Thank you, moderator. Actually, I'm pretty much interested in this ecosystem services. So I think SWAT Plus can do the job as in management for forestry, but like us, we should. I think for some area we have a land use change. Sometimes we have to fight for it to be as a forest area. So we need to know if this change to this, how much is the value of that site. If we can just put in, if any models can do, we just put in figure like we have some varieties or shoria species, how much the value is. Just key in, and then the water stream there. If you disturb, what happened? Sure. So if that can be done, it is very useful for us in the management. Thank you.
I mean, SWAT Plus will make it a little bit easier actually. It can be done even in the current SWAT, but it needs a lot more work to get it done. But SWAT Plus can naturally help you because all SWAT Plus is going to be rule-based management. So you can specify a particular rule when you can harvest a forest, for example, or if you have a fire, you can introduce fire in the model. Okay, how much of ecosystem services because introduction of the fire or frequency of the fire and things like that actually. So I think the challenge then will become is how do I know what management is right? That means now things are done automatically. Now it becomes a user responsibility actually. So user has to understand. I mean, I already mentioned not many people who knows natural ecosystem who are the modelers here actually. Most of them are engineers or other disciplines that may or may not have such a background like what you're talking about. The SWAT Plus certainly may not help them that much. We may be able to set up the rule, a generic rule to take care of that actually, but still the user needs to be knowledgeable to invoke such a type of analysis if you want to conduct actually. That means you need to know what's really going on in your watershed or what's really you're trying to capture and things like that. So the knowledge of the user is going to be pretty important here actually.
Maybe I can just add a little bit about the land use change impact on SWAT modeling. So I did a similar study before in the Johor region where they changed the forest area to the reservoir for supplying the fresh water to the Singapore. So from this analysis, what I can find is it will influence the hydrological cycle. For example, the evaporation for this region will be increased because they change the forested area to the water body. So this is maybe something what Professor would like to do more in the future by integrating like more elements. So, any question?
You're not talking much.
Sorry.
Thank you very much. That's all. I have a question. I used 2-3 research on SWAT model in the era. So I know so far model SWAT model given proper response. But I understood it has some big point, particularly in the pure forestry. So I think it has in the interception component is affected on the response model, and also the another case it will be combined the area, mountainous area and plain area. It's given not proper response. I understood now, but I don't know what is using the model for this area. Thanks.
I mean, forested area is definitely a challenging not only for the hydrology but also for the plant growth actually. I mean, if you look at our plant growth model, they are mainly meant for agriculture, and it later got adapted for tree crops and the long-term hardwood and softwoods and pine needles and broadleaves and things like that. All those things are all kind of afterthought of modifying the existing crop module to accommodate for the forest. They are really not a forest model. So fundamentally we have some challenges on that actually. We are trying to address some of them. We are adding, including things like crop mix or land use mix, so that in the SWAT Plus, you're not only able to simulate the individual monoculture, but you can also have a polyculture, meaning you can have multiple species in the same piece of land that may compete for light or nutrients and water and things like that actually. So yes, there are some improvements that's coming up, and hopefully that will help you. The second thing that's going to help you would be the landscape position, the slope versus floodplain and things like that. So Yeah, we did recognize those problems and we are trying to address them, but it's going to take more time and people like you to help us and to make sure things are working properly. If not, what else can we do to improve them and things like that. Yeah.
Thank you. So, any question?
Yes. She's going to ask a terrible question and you'll be answering. I know already the question she's going to ask.
Okay, I have one question. How sensitive is the soil parameters to the calibration and validation?
How sensitive?
For flow, sediment, and also nutrient. What do you think?
Yeah, I think for flow it's pretty important actually, because ET is your biggest component of your hydrological budget. So ET is based on soil moisture. So if your available water holding capacity of your soil is wrong, or depth of the soil is wrong, you can pretty much forget about calibrating your model actually. So those two are the most important parameters. Available water capacity, depth of soil layers is two important properties. Then of course, if you need to think about return flow, then the saturation conductivity is also equally important. Actually, that's how the water is going to move through your soil. It has to get to the groundwater, then only water can return back to the river actually. So that is another important property for hydrology. When it comes to the water quality, the soil erosion factor, the K factor, is going to become very, very important factor, or important parameter. Other parameters are there, but they are not really, like organic carbon is another one that's going to be important too, but soil albedo is another important, but not that important per se. But organic carbon can be important because that's going to initialize your nitrogen in the soil or phosphorus in the soil. Yes, in general, soil is very, very important actually, and there are many, many hydrological models that they do not take into consideration of any soil parameters, whereas we have soil is one of the key inputs in the model.
I was just going to say, the model can be really sensitive to adjustments, and one thing you'll see in the literature is, I've seen this in studies in the U.S. with SWAT, where people adjust the available water capacity kind of arbitrarily, and we've done some of this with the Boone River watershed models that I was describing yesterday. And one of the things that I discovered is you can impact crop yield in some negative ways if you're not careful. So it just comes back to this whole thing of, if you're going to make those kind of adjustments, make sure you're doing it in a logical manner that fits known data, expert opinion, whatever you have available for the region that you're simulating. Because, sometimes I think people just sort of do this